Hi Vinyl Community, it's Mike here, back with another video. And today, I think I'll show you some of the stuff I've been listening to over the last 2 or 3 weeks. It's a really mixed bunch. What I've been doing is just going through my record collection and picking out stuff, maybe, stuff that I haven't listened to for quite some time and reacquainting myself with records. And I'm really enjoying myself doing that. So, I'll show you now what I've been listening to, as I say, in the last 2 or 3 weeks. It's quite a mixed bunch. There's 10 or 11 records here altogether. So I better get going. So first off is a band from Melbourne in Australia. A couple of DJs, and it's the Avalanches. And this is a 4-album set of their album from 2000 called Since I Left You. And I bought the album when it came out, but I bought it on CD. And I was really taken by the title track, which was also a single. It was called Since I Left You. And I remember seeing the video and thought, yeah, it's a really good video. I like that. So I investigated them a bit more. Thought, yeah, I like this stuff, and as I say, I bought the CD. Anyway, this 4-album set came out in 2021, and it contains the original album on 2 discs, and then you've got another two discs with various sort of remixes from various people on it. So as I say, there are a couple of DJs from Melbourne. It's sort of house music, it's down tempo. Loads and loads of samples in here, and it's reputed that they used about 3,500 samples altogether when they were putting this album together. I mean, not all of them made it onto the final cut, but they certainly went through the motions here with sort of the samples and everything. And apparently the album was released a few months late because they didn't get proper clearance for some of the samples that they did actually use in the final album. But it came out and it's brilliant. And as I say, this is 2021 sort of reissue box set with. I won't open it up completely. There you go. Or maybe I will. That's one side, and then that's the other side. And as I say, it's the original album on 2 discs and remixes on the other 2 discs. So yeah, so you got the title track, the opening track, as I say, Since I Left You, which was a single. Probably the other most famous track on here will be Frontier Psychiatrist, which I think was also released as a single. But tracks that I really like on here myself are sort of 2 Hearts in 3/4 time. I think is really excellent. Then you've got Pablo's Cruise. I really like that. And then there's a track called Summer Crane. And what else have you got? Oh yeah, Little Journey. That's another one that I really, really like. And yeah, so that's it. And as I say, there's remixes by various people, and in particular, there's a really nice remix of Since I Left You by the brilliant Stereolab. So there you go. So I've been listening to this. It's a bit of a bit of house, bit of down tempo stuff, and yeah, I really, really like this Avalanches and Since I Left You. Right, a bit closer to home. This is over in East Yorkshire, over in Humberside, and it's a band that are now defunct. Unfortunately, they just did the 1 album and I think a couple of singles, and this is their album. So, as I say, the one and only album from 2021, and they're called Low Hummer, and the album, as you can see, is called Modern Tricks for Living. And there's a disclaimer on the back to say that actually this album doesn't contain any useful modern tricks for living. So in case you think you'd get some good advice, they're warning you that maybe you wouldn't. So what are they like? It's sort of indie rock, really. They're a bit left field, I suppose. But I think a way of sort of really sort of describing what they like is to have a look at this sort of guide that came with the album. It's Our Guide to Modern Living, and one of the things they say is it should support new music, and they give details of some bands and artists that they have supported themselves, and some of them I know, some of them I don't know. There's Halo Maud, who I do know her, Bedroom, who are a fellow sort of whole band, and they're absolutely brilliant. I really love Bedroom. Then you've got Team Picture, who I suppose are reasonably famous, aren't they? And Goldfishes, Life, Bull, Pre-Skate, and then there's Drugstore Romeos, and they recommend their album Quotations for Locations. So, if you like any of those bands, then you probably like Low Hummer, and you get an idea of what their music is all about. But a bit later on, they've got some more sort of mainstream stuff that they recommend. There you go. So there's some recommendations there in the booklet, and you've got they recommend Joy Division, Broadcast, Talking Heads, Parquet Courts, another band that I really like. I must get some of their stuff out and have a listen to that sometime, because I've not really listened to Parquet Courts, I think, for probably a good sort of 2 or 3 years. They like Gary Newman, so Nick's Vinyl Butty and Richard's Vinyl Tap House are really into Gary Newman. They're the VC's Newmanoids, so you'll probably like this because Low Hummer like Gary Newman, and you should like them. And Stereolab as well. Stereolab, just mentioned them before, doing the remix on the Avalanches album. And then there's Elastica as well. So that's it. So that's Low Hummer, as I say. It's sort of quite sort of left field, sort of indie, and they're really great. Right, the next album. Now this is an album that I wouldn't have bought if I hadn't seen a video that Jack did. So it's Jack, Vinyl Voyage, guy up there in Scotland, and he'd got hold of an original of this album. So it's an original album on Vertigo, with the Vertigo Swirl label that it's very collectible in some quarters. But this is not. This is certainly not an original. This is a reissue. And also, I wouldn't have bought this album if it hadn't been for Jack. But he was talking about the album, and I thought, yeah, this sounds like my sort of thing. And I listened to it online, and then a few days later, I went into Leeds. I went to Relics Records in Leeds, and what do you know? The first album that I saw when I came through the door was this one, and it's the debut album by a band called Affinity, and it was released in 1970. They're a UK band, a bit jazz rocky, a bit psyche, a bit blues rock, and really the band. The band's real sort of selling point are the vocals by the singer Linda Hoyle, and the keyboard playing of a guy called Linton Naif. And yeah, it's really, really good stuff. I mean, it's quite, conventional sort of, as I say, psyche, sort of blues rock, jazz rock. So you got the tracks on here, I Am and So Are You, Night Flight, I Wonder If I Care As Much, Coconut Grove is on here. And then the track that finishes the album off is a cover of Bob Dylan's All Along the Watchtower, quite a sort of lengthy sort of cover version. It's really, really nice. As I say, Linda Hoyle's vocals are really, really excellent. So the other people in the band, Linton Naif, as I mentioned before, who plays the keyboards, a guy called Mike Jopp on guitar, Mo Foster on bass, and then a guy called Grant Serple on drums. And yeah, this album's really worth sort of picking up if you like that sort of thing. As I say, if you like a bit of jazz rock, if you like a bit of a bit of psyche blues rock, and that's good. And yeah, Linda Hoyle's vocals are absolutely brilliant. And Jack also showed a solo album from Linda Hoyle, and if I ever see a copy of that at a reasonable price, I think I'd definitely be picking it up as well, because, as I say, she's a really great singer. So that's Affinity by Affinity, released in 1970. Right, next one. Oh, it's an EP, and it's a band from Leeds, and they're on the Practice Music label, and this is it. The band are called Peaks. This is their EP from 2019, and they're kind of indie pop, a bit sort of electro pop, really, I suppose. I don't think they're around very long. I think they only released a single album, probably in about 2021, sometime like that. But they're ostensibly a sort of a three-piece band. So you've got Maxwell Shirley, Molly Pickering, and Peter Redshaw. And yeah, so you've got various tracks on here. How many others? Four tracks on here. Hole in the Floor, It's Not the Worst, Till We Get Enough, and then a track called Still Life. And yeah, I really like this EP, and I hadn't listened to it probably for about 5 years actually. So I bought it, listened to it a few times, and then put it away and promptly forgot about it. And I was just pulling stuff out, and I saw this, and I thought, yeah, I need to listen to this. And it's really quite good stuff. It's as I say, it's indie pop, electro pop, and it's from my hometown of Leeds. So there you go. Right, next one. This is something completely different, and this is a bit of sort of hip hop, a bit of abstract jazz, really, and it's from Pan Amsterdam, and the album's called Hard Chew, and it's got some. I really like the artwork on this, and I think there's inside there's that's some more artwork in there, and yeah. So as I say, it's hip hop, it's abstract jazz, and Pan Amsterdam is a guy called Leron Thomas, who I think he's from New York. He's a trumpeter, he's a vocalist, and he's a composer. And there's some interesting guests on this album, not least Jason Williamson from Sleaford Mods, another band that I really like, and he's on 3 tracks. There's Hannibal Lecture, Into Old Punks, and Hall and Oates, and some of his lyrics on here, some of his sort of singing is really funny, really great stuff. And you got Iggy Pop on as well. Iggy Pop is on a track called Tea, of course, with Iggy Pop. There you go. So yeah, this is quite interesting. It's it's very different, and I really love this stuff. And yeah, as I say, again, it's an album that I hadn't listened to for a little while, so I picked it out and gave it a spin, and yeah, really worth having a listen there. Right, now next off is a band that I don't think anybody else shows this band, and I think people are put off them because they are very political. They're Irish rappers, and of course it's Kneecap, and this is their second album, and there you go, it's called Fenian. And as I say, they're political with a small p. They're not party political. More than anything, they're sort of advocates of the Irish language, and they're not great fans of the British government, and to be fair, the British government are not fans of them. So there's the there. There's all the details about the tracks here, and then there's the kind of double sort of fold out sheet that's got all the lyrics on them. The lyrics are in English and also in the Irish language. And so they've had a couple of run-ins with the British government. First of all, they were given an Arts Council grant, quite rightly, in Northern Ireland, and the government tried to rescind that on the grounds that they weren't British enough. They were anti-British, but they're not really anti-British. They don't like the government. They don't like the British state, but they're not anti-British as such. But anyway, so there's a track on here called Carnival, which is actually about their run-ins with the government. They had another one recently where they had a flag from Hezbollah on stage with them, and therefore they were immediately sort of prosecuted under terror laws, would you believe, for having a flag on stage, and that trial collapsed. So at the moment it's it's Kneecap 2, British government nil as far as sort of court cases go. But I know a lot of you don't like sort of politics in your music, but for me, if someone's got a platform, they want to use it, then they can use it, and you can take it or leave it, can't you? So there you go. And they're really great. This band, they're brilliant live. Saw them about 3 months ago in Leeds at the O2, and they were brilliant. So yeah, that's Kneecap. Right, what's next? Oh yeah, a band from the mid '80s really, and so this is Middle Eastern music, all the way from London, and it's a band called Three Mustafas 3. I know absolutely loads of people in this band, and this is their album called Shopping from 1987, and they were one of those bands that were championed by John Peel, and so I got to hear about them because I was listening to John Peel avidly, as so many other people were sort of my age, back in the 70s and 80s, and so it's Middle Eastern music, and they do it really well. Although I think they were criticised at the time in some quarters because apparently they didn't take the music seriously enough. So there's a lot of fun here. They're sometimes you do feel they're taking the mickey a little bit, but the music is absolutely good, absolutely great. They're brilliant musicians. They decided that they'd all adopt the same birth date as well. So officially, they were all born on the 6th of August. And they changed their names as well. So, everybody in the band had the name sort of Mustafa in there somewhere. And so what the tracks on here, there's a few tracks here that I won't embarrass myself by trying to pronounce them. A Night Off Beirut, that's a really good one. Selva, I really like that. But the rhythms are really nice, and if you want something a little bit different, a little bit, not particularly sort of like Western rhythms, Western music. If you get a bit fed up with the same old sort of indie scene, then maybe. Give these guys a listen. And I picked this album up for next to nothing. It was £2 or £3 at a record fair about 6 months ago. And yeah, it's really, really good. So that's Three Mustafas 3. Right, so the next album is a Canterbury prog album. And it's a brilliant Hatfield in the North, and their album, The Rotters Club. I think this is their best album, and it's from 1975. And all sorts of people, from other Canterbury bands, also in Hatfield and the North. So you got Phil Miller, who was on guitar. Then you got Pip Pyle, the drummer, and Pip Pyle was in Matching Mole. He was in National Health. Richard Sinclair on bass and vocals was in Wildflowers, which I think were the sort of the progenitors of Caravan. And then you got Dave Stewart on keyboards, and Dave Stewart sort of had a single hit with Barbara Gaskin, who actually sings backing vocals on one of these tracks, and it was "It's My Party," the Leslie Gore single that they did a really weird electronic sort of version of that back in the early 80s, I think. But anyway, so Dave Stewart plays the keyboard. He was also in Egg. He was in a band called Carn, who have won this brilliant album. He's in National Health as well. Then Barbara Gaskin and Dave Stewart, I think, were both in Spyro Gyra as well. And then you've got other people sort of like that, not in the band, but playing on this album. And you've got Jimmy Hastings, who's the brother of Pi Hastings. You've got Mont Campbell, and Mont Campbell was in Egg, and he was also I think he was in National Health. I'm sure he was in National Health. Lindsay Cooper was in Comus and Henry Cow, and then Tim Hodgkinson as well was also, I think, in Henry Cow. So it's a bit of a who's who of Canterbury prog, and it's it's what you expect from a Canterbury sound. It's proggy, sort of jazz infused stuff, So if you like Caravan, if you like Soft Machine, then you're bound to like sort of Hatfield and the North. So there you go. So that's a Rotters Club from 1975, an absolutely brilliant album in my opinion. Right, now last time, or maybe the video before, I showed an album by a band called Tongue. And this next album is related to Tongue, and it's a band, or rather a duo, who call themselves Lump, and they've had 2 albums out so far. This is their second album from 2021. So it's called Animal by Lump, and it comes in this sort of outer and then you've got the album in the middle there. So Lump are Mike Lindsay, who is in Tongue, and also sort of Laura Marling, and it's a lovely album. It comes. Let's have a look at this. Yeah, this is the inner. There's not really much to say actually, just another picture there, but so it's kind of like alternative folk really. It's really quite nice, and I love Laura Marling's voice anyway. I love her solo stuff, and this is a really good album, as is their debut as well, and also everything that Tongue have done as well. But Bloom at Night, the opening track, is really lovely on this. The title track Animal is great. Oberon, Phantom Limb, another great one. But so as I say, it's a bit sort of like alternative folk really, and if you like Laura Marling, then you'd certainly like this. It's very relaxing. It's very laid back, and so after listening to that, I thought, well, why don't I listen to some Laura Marling? And I picked up this EP, and this was actually a record store day release, I think. Oh yes, it does say record store day, and it's an EP, and it's Laura Marling live from Union Chapel, and it's live from Union Chapel on the 6th of June 2020. And for those of you who don't know, Union Chapel is a fantastic venue in North London, in Islington, and it's just up the road. It's just up the road and across the road from the Great Hope and Anchor, the legendary punk venue from the 1970s, which is still there, still going strong. And so there's 5 tracks on this. So side 1 is taken up by Once I Was an Eagle, and then side 2 you've got Held Down, Daisy, How Can I, and Goodbye England Covered in Snow. And it says this is it's a song for our daughter, which was an album that came out about this time. but I think there's only one track. I think only Daisy, I think, is the only track that's from the album. I could be wrong, but yeah. So as you can see, it's an acoustic set from Laura there, and it's a really nice EP. You know, and I think with Record Store Day gets a bit of a bad press now, doesn't it? Because you know, there's a lot of these first time on vinyl live albums, and they turn out to be with a sound quality worse than a bootleg, and it really it sometimes it's really like sort of Record Store Day is just sort of cashing in really, but there are some good things. If you choose carefully, you can come away with some really nice stuff on Record Store Day, and as I say, this was one of them, and that's Laura Marling. So we're getting on now. I'm about 26 minutes into the video, so this is the last one, and it's a Leeds band again, and this is a band made up of sort of people who were from other bands in Leeds by and large, and they're called Menace Beach, and this is their debut album. It's called Rat World, and it came out in 2015. I've seen Menace Beach a couple of times, and they're really good live. They're kind of a bit sort of power poppy really, but I think power pop is doing them a bit of an injustice. There's kind of more to them than that. As I say, this is their debut album, and I think this is their best album. So you've got Liz Violet and Ryan Needham, who are the vocalists on this, and then you've got Nestor Matthews, who is also in a band called Magic Mountain, which is a bit of a sort of a psyche sort of rock band, and they're really good live as well. Seen them a couple of times. And then there's Nick Chartley in a band called Seize the Chair, who actually I haven't seen. But there you go. So this is their album. As I say, it's their debut. It's called Rat World, and tracks on here: Come On Give Up, Elastic, Dropouts, Oh Blue Eye, great track. Tennis Court, great track. The title track, Rat World, is really good. Pick Out the Pieces, and Infinite Donut. Yeah, so there you go. So this is Menace Beach and Rat World. So that's what I've been listening to over the last sort of couple of weeks, and I actually went to Leeds Record Fair a couple of days ago, and I picked up some really interesting stuff. So once I've listened to that, I'll probably put that in my next video. So until then, I'll see you. So right, bye. See ya.